I am the Light Bringer. Now listen.
Hey guys, Dozer here bringing you a new video. In honor of the Calling Sydney, we have a Prism in the top 8, Mr. Liam Bennet here, and so we wanted to take a second to look at his match versus Pudding Tam. This is still live. I have not seen this match yet, and this will be a live reaction from me and a live analysis of Prism getting to play. I've only seen the first turn of this game so far, and so I wanted to take a second to share my thought process as we go through the game, so we can have a bit of a delayed group watch of this, especially if you are asleep in the time zones where this is not currently happening. So we can get into that game here pretty quickly. I don't really think we want to change the speed of the playback here. So right off the bat, it looks like the Syndra is in fact going first. Syndra into Prism is generally a pretty decent matchup for Prism. It's not great because you have to get a lot of protections down to get your Spectral Shields to cover Flick Knives threats on your ward value on your Angels, but if you can manage to find those Spectral Shields, then you can do pretty well. Worth noting that Liam Bennett's deck here is pretty foiled out. We love to see Prisms rep the cold foils and the extended arts and all of the marvels and everything. So Liam seems to be a real Prism truther here, or at least borrowing the deck from someone who is. Getting an Arclight Sentinel down in response to this Ignite is quite good, especially if reactions have been passed. This is in resolution. It'll essentially end the Syndra's turn, and that is really good for us as the Prism side. Generally, you don't want to get pushed through really hard on your first turn, and so being able to drop blues in that case to pay for the Arclight and block that first attack is pretty good. It's worth noting that the Pierce Reality blue was pitched to help pay for this Arclight. Pierce Reality is generally a card that I have not personally loved running in Prism lists as of late. Oftentimes you don't get a chance to actually play it and then get value out of it, because your opponent will generally either destroy the aura by attacking it very quickly, or they will pop you anyway, and so the +2 didn't actually give you any value. So while it can absorb some value, like maybe 1 damage or threaten a Chain Ender, to get interrupted, it can do pretty well. At the same time, I've just found that I would normally rather just have a blue Angelic Wrath to have the ability to go over mid-chain and not have to front load all that value. So generally that's how I prefer to do things, but Liam Bennet here is going to be having the crackback here with no additional HP lost other than the starting total. And we love playing against Syndra because she doesn't tend to have a lot of cards that can pop Phantasm. A lot of the times the best options for her would be something like Freewheeling Renegades or maybe Down and Dirty if you were really trying to go in an anti-Prism bend. But these days with Verdance and Gravy Bones being the two sides of the metagame that are not Syndra, and Prism's kind of this dark horse gatekeeper who's trying to get some points on the back end. Generally speaking, the benefit of running those poppers is not really that high for Syndra, and so we're not really expecting any. So leading off with the red War Tune here is very good for the Liam Bennet side, because with this secondary War Tune, he can throw 2 War Tunes off 3 cards. That is a 3-card 13, pretty good. We love to see that, and it threatens those wards as well, so those angels. So though we will not get to go again on the second War Tune here, we did manage to get a 4-block out of our opponent of the Syndra, and we have a Angelic Attendant in the back for the arsenal here. It's not clear to me whether or not he's going to get a chance to really use that card, but we couldn't really afford to pitch it or the Figment of Protection in the pitch zone there. So if Liam decides to arsenal that card, worst case scenario, I think it gets trapped down there for a little bit, but even if he uses just his Halo, he can Halo for a Figment of Erudition, and he can flip it with that card from Arsenal and guarantee himself some additional soul, and that's a pretty decent crackback if he really wants to do it. However, his opponent has just blocked out, and so has Arsenal, and so Liam has full tempo here and can lead off with a Herald of Protection. This is one of the best ones for Prism to have, again, because of that Spectral Shield token. Absorbing 1 damage helps protect your Angels from the Flick Knives ability every turn that the Syndra can threaten. So that is pretty good. Didn't get a chance to glance at his hand there, but he does seem to be pressuring the Syndra pretty well. Cinder doesn't really have a lot of 3 blocks and doesn't want to be blocking a lot in this matchup. However, Herald of Protection is one of those cards that, like Pudding Tam is representing here, you do want to block as much as possible because it makes it that much harder to get through. However, Herald of Triumph Blue, not the scariest card in your deck, and so being able to threaten this card as well is going to make Pudding have to decide if he's going to, again, block or just let the attack go through and then threaten the Angel anyway with Flick Knives, because unless Liam commits his Halo of Illumination or his Calling Gesture, he's not going to be able to get a Spectral Shield token at instant speed in response to the Flick Knives. So Pudding having a nice big think here, but if he can block it, generally it's good too. He can do it with 1 card from hand by using his Shelter from the Storm and his boots that he's representing there, which is pretty good. I think he might be worried about a potential Angelic Wrath, sort of like an attack reaction that gets over the blocks. So he might not want to commit that, but it looks like he's going to be very brave and block 5-on-5. So he has prevented Prism from getting any soul, any figments into play, which is continuously keeping that card in his arsenal, the Angelic Attendant, trapped. However, he can get that out really at any time with his Halo, so it's not a big deal if he is not able to play it right away. Now, coming in with the Fire Tenant Strike first, this is going to be pressuring just a little bit of HP on the Prism. You never really want to block this here. It's not really representing any follow-ups. So Prism is unlikely to care about this and is likely to just throw back a full hand, unless it's just really bad. In these types of matchups, Prism doesn't benefit a lot from blocking. You generally have to be the aggressor. You generally have to be getting not only your Herald to hit to get your Figments out of the deck, because the Figments are bad to draw, but you want to be able to flip for free with that Empyrean Rapture, my spoiler card from Dusk Till Dawn, to get them to give you that 4 ward value on the back end. Worth noting that, again, all these are extended art Rainbow Foil Heralds, so Liam Bennet, we see you. Very cool deck that you got there. But Pudding Tam here is having to stare down now a 7-power Herald that you cannot pop with a 6-power card. So even if he did side those types of cards in, which I'm not aware of at this moment, he could not pop it very easily here. He'd have to have something like a Battlefront Bastion Red. And so Prism's definitely getting a good lead here with a very solid position of going second in this matchup, which is what you would want to be doing, which he is certainly picked because he is 2nd seed and Pudding Tam is 7th seed. So we know that Prism wanted to go second to have that tempo and got to not leak any damage going first or in that first turn cycle. So that is very good for the Prism. And now with that tempo, he's pushing and drawing cards out of Pudding, but Pudding is still not taking any damage. So it's definitely going to be a value game of trading back and forth. Pudding seems to know what he is doing and is being very disciplined in blocking out Heralds into 9 Soul where he can. Because once the Prism does get rolling with that, the Syndra does have to sort of decide that they are going to just push that gas and out-trade the Prism out-race for the rest of the game. Getting the chip Prism down to 29 life is pretty impactful, but we do see a interesting hand from Pudding here with the I think Art of Dragonfire Blood or something, and then the Wrath of Retribution. So this is a potential big power turn for the Syndra if he can sequence his cards well and get all those Draconic Chainlinks going. Prism was able to throw some good damage here and get a hit and search for a Figment. Oftentimes, in this position, you would want to either get the Figment of Erudition so you can flip it over with that Angelic Attendant in your arsenal and draw some more cards. However, he's going to be choosing the Figment of War here to get +1. This kind of shows that he's not looking to use his Angelic Attendant this turn. If you wanted to turbo it out, so to speak, you could use it on your Figment of Protection or your Figment of Erudition, so you could either get 2 Spectral Shields or 2 cards off of the flip there. But it looks like he is going to probably be using the Empyrean Rapture if he is going to flip that this turn, or leave it as a pseudo defense reaction on the board. The Courage token here is going to allow the next Herald that comes in to be at +1 attack. And so he is going to be using the Angelic Attendant. Interesting choice. And not only that, he is going to pitch to swing with it. And he's not going to use the soul, it looks like. So he's just using it for 4 damage here with the go again, and not even having any Spectral Shields on the back end. To me, that is a interesting play. Yes, the courage token. Okay, so that's why. Okay, so he's going to commit his calming gesture to do that now instead of using that as a response to afflict knives. I don't really agree with that play. If it were me in this position, I think I would have chosen the Figment of Protection to get the Spectral Shield out if I was planning on not flipping. And even if I was planning on flipping, I think getting a couple extra Spectral Shields here would be really, really nice. At this point, by using the Calming Gesture, you're making it so that if you ever want to instant speed save an Angel, you are going to have to use your Halo to either get that Figment of Protection out of your deck, or something similar to that, because you no longer have access to that with this here. I was thinking that maybe he was going to attack with that Herald of Protection with the +1, and then flip his Angel on the back end just for the tempo value. But because he's gone for the Figment of War here, the Bologna, it does seem that it's not going to be able to be long for this world, and that it might not be the best use of that Angelic Attendant. However, he didn't use the Soul. Notably, by keeping the Soul at 2 here with the Herald of Triumph and the Angelic Attendant, the Prism is able to convert future Figments into value very readily. And so that Arsenal card basically did just say deal 4 damage. And here it might stop an additional 3 off of this card here. However, it's not guaranteed to be that way. And so, I don't know. In this matchup, you don't have a ton of time. You don't get to get a lot of Figments out. And so if it were me, I think I would have done the Figment Protection and probably banished to create 2 Spectral Shields. So I'd have 3 Spectral Shields, one from entering with the Figment and 2 from its ability. So I would give you 3. And then that would cover like Flick Knives, these different dagger attacks, and you would still have the Angel and your Calming Gesture and your Halo up. So I don't know. I think that'd be my take personally. Especially because if the Syndra ever does try to attack your Angels, the Halo trick to get Rapture out of your deck to snipe your own face is really powerful at ending a wide turn. And I think that leaving your Calming Gesture up so you always have a 1 resource anti-Flick Knives card is really, really strong. And so using that just kind of for tempo there, to me, seems like a bit of a overextension, but we shall see how it pays out for Liam here. Attacking here, we're going to block with the red protection. That feels really bad. Prism really hates to block with red protections, especially to cover an Angel, because again, if you're only threatening that 1 bit of ward off the daggers here, because you're thinking that the Flick Knives is going to just kill the Angel in its entirety, you're really not happy to see that. So he's got a Pierce Reality blue in his hand, which is, again, not a great card when you're trying to raise people. And it looks like we are going to get the dragon version of this card. So we've got 3 Draconic Chain Links wide. We're going to flick that knife to take away the entire Angel, which, again, didn't need to happen, but here we are. Losing a lot of the Angel ward value to just a measly knife. And though we have not been hit, we have interrupted the Mask of Momentum this turn, and we still have our Figment of Protection in the deck to use that Soul for later, which is valid. We are looking down a 4 go again, not threatening Mask, but threatening potentially more Chain Links here. So Liam's doing a nice long think here, still has his Courage token in play, but man, really giving up that red protection feels really bad. That's one of the best cards you have in this matchup, especially at this point in the game. Especially with a Courage token, that would have been 8 damage. Herald, those are pretty hard to block. A lot of times, if you have a 4 and a 3 block, or you want to use some armor, that can be done pretty well. But once you have 8 power on an attack, that's a really rough break point for a lot of heroes to cover, especially like ninjas like Syndra. But he does have another Herald of Protection in his hand, so that does make sense. Looks like he does have the yellow Triumph and a blue, so he could not have really efficiently blocked with that Pierce Reality in the first place. And so we're going to be giving up the 3 block here with the yellow protection or Triumph. This is indicating that we are going to be looking to throw a 2-card 8 next turn with the Herald of Protection, getting that Spectral Shield most likely, and then making a Angel just for the ward on the back end. So we are not looking to flip and attack next turn and using that extra soul. So it looks like that Angelic Attendant is going to be sitting there in all of its cold foil glory for a while longer. And the Arsenal is another Herald, I believe, of protection. So I'm not sure if it's a blue or a yellow based on the camera quality here. But without having those additional resources, blocking on this turn does feel like we are giving up quite a bit of room for the Syndra to operate. We are 10 HP down on the Syndra and have no Figments in play. In this case, I don't really think the Figment of Protection would have changed a lot on this turn. We would have gotten at least, well, we would have gotten 4 more life this turn from the ward value, which would get us a lot closer. Because we would have been able to no block the dagger like we did already. We would have been able to freely say no blocks on the Art of Dragonfire Blood, or whatever that card is named, and then be able to go from there. And we would have had 2 extra life because we would have consumed that soul, so we would be 6 life up here, or more. Yeah. Well, sorry, 5 life up. No, we'd be up more. Anyway, we'd be up quite a bit more life here, so it would not be as dire looking as it is right here. But the Syndra did just discard a lot of daggers and does not have anything going. So this is not the worst position to be in. Prism is going to be able to throw some damage here. And unless the Syndra draws a blue, which I don't know how many he's running, he's not going to be able to get those daggers back very easily. So giving a full block here, pretty good for keeping that Prism off of Soul. And it looks like putting is going to be able to Arsenal AD React, which is going to be pretty relevant in this matchup. Having that all you got on the deck is an interesting inclusion for Prism. Generally, I'm not a big fan of that card because unless you're using it on exactly a Kunai or a Ignite, you're basically having to commit your Halo of Illumination to use it on different cards to reduce their power down to 2 from 3 so you can get that draw off. But in a lot of cases, I found that I would rather just have a Herald in majority of cases, because when you draw too many of those D-Reacts, you can't actually attack. So though it does seem that the Yellow Ravages is coming out, threatening 1 Arcane on hit, as well as the Soul and a Figment, we are stuck with a hand that doesn't really do much if this doesn't hit. If Pudding does block 6 here, we don't really have a backup plan about getting any Figments into play. So if Pudding does commit some cards here, our turn is going to stop in its tracks. And so that's exactly the weakness of the That All You Got. If that was a Herald here, we'd be very comfortable to send another 6 damage and threaten more ward value and all those good things. But we do have a Herald, luckily, in our arsenal. So we should be able to throw our Herald of Protection from our arsenal into Pudding's face and arsenal another Angelic Attendant, or the D-React, whichever one we really are feeling is better in this position. I think based on how the game is going, if Pudding blocks here to block the entire Herald out, and we throw the second Herald on this turn, I think it's worth considering arsenaling the D-React instead. Generally, because, and obviously we're not going to know what he's going to do until then, but Pudding does seem to be wanting to block this turn, and so it does make me want to pitch the Angelic Attendant here, because we can try to save some value for a future turn if Pudding does throw some measly damage back on a small turn here. So I do like this play from Liam. We do get to hit, we do get the Spectral Shield. That's incredibly valuable for us. Again, nice cool foil Spectral Shield. And we are going to see a Figment come out. I think going for a Figment of Protection at this point would be a bit of a waste, because we are not going to be able to swing with it right away. So I would probably avoid doing that myself. But if we were going for just a generic Figment, we could just go for a Rebirth or a Judgment or just some random Figment to get some value. Ravages is also great for arcane damage, though we might want to save that for our Halo. So going for kind of a throwaway Figment like Rebirth or Judgment here, I think is pretty good. You can flip it, Reckless Abandon, and there we go. Right, this is the least relevant Figment in the deck in this matchup, and so we can just throw it out there and flip it for that ward value, since it's backed up by that 1 Spectral Shield. So love to see that. And we do still have our Angelic Attendant that we can throw in Arsenal, so that after we block out, oh sorry, never mind, we have That All You Got. So we have That All You Got, it's going into Arsenal, and so we should be able to cover a bit of block value here, and then throw back whatever we draw in our hand. We get a Wrath, Erudition, and something. So regardless of what's happening next turn, we are throwing an Erudition. We are going to pump it by 3. And it will have go again. So we have a pretty good turnaround here. And I don't think we want a Halo here to try to get the card back. We already have the Arsenal card, and so we can just cover straight up here. There's no need to go for Halo. There's no need to try and get that card draw. Halo Illumination is often a card negative play, and we don't really want to be giving up our Eruditions and Wraths here just to make those happen more. So Ravenous Rabble here coming in for 4. We're super happy to have this target or face and just let the angel die. So totally happy to let that happen here. Pierce Reality, again, rear in its head. This is not the best card ever because we're just realistically never blocking with it. We're realistically never playing it in this type of matchup. And while it can do some work in slower matchups, maybe like ones where they don't have a lot of action points, but they also don't have a lot of poppers. Rosalia was a good example of where that was a good card. It's, to me, the blue Wrath does about the same job, especially giving you more chances to line it up with your Erudition and not be so reliant on drawing the yellow Wraths. But again, that's just my personal take. The yellow card is getting pitched to throw the other Erudition. Yeah, so many extended art cards. We love to see it. Although I'm more partial to the basic Rainbow Foils myself. Erudition is going to come in with 5 Dominate. We all know what this card does. It draws 2 cards on hit and goes to Soul. Does your taxes, the whole 9 yards. So having the Erudition here backed up by Wrath means that even if Pudding commits 6 block here with a D-React and the Mask of Momentum, we are still going to be able to go over the top with any copy of Wrath that exists in the game. Whether it's blue, whether it's yellow, +2, +3, we will be able to get over. So Pudding has to decide what he's going to do here, and he's going to block 5. However, unfortunately, +3 makes it 8, and that is too much damage for a single Shelter from the Storm discard to prevent. So we will be getting the Mask of Momentum out, which matters a fair bit. Although Flick Knives is clearly the big offender here. Blood Splattered Vest might have been the better pick overall. And here, this is kind of interesting, right? So we drew 2 cards. We got the Herald of Protection, or the Figment of Protection, into play. And unless we're going to Halo in the Erudition Figment to get card draw this turn, I'm not really sure what he is intending on doing. It looks like we have a Wartune Herald that we can throw on the back end, and so it looks like we're going to be flipping, making more Spectral Shields, which again is great play. We wanted to do it earlier, but now we're getting to do it here. It's just as well. And we are going to be able to throw 4 damage. Syndra is never blocking vanilla 4. And we can end on a Wartune Herald by pitching our Pierce Reality. However, we did already flip this turn, and so we can't get any more card draw. And so we will not be able to Arsenal unless we throw this Wartune and get it to hit and get that Ponder off the Erudition Figment. Which is possible. I mean, this is definitely a good spot to be in. Totally valid line here. But Pudding is now going to have to think about what is coming on the back of this. And here you always know a Herald's coming, right? Like you always know that you're going to have to worry about 5 to 6 more damage on the tail end. And so there's really never reason to block the vanilla 4, especially because he's got a number of go again cards that he can throw to threaten it on the next turn. And leaving it up is not great because it just makes more Spectral Shields, gets harder to remove unless you target its face, and then you're always worried about losing your value off of your the Figment of Ravage is coming in, pinging the Prism's own phase, destroying your Angel, and ending the Syndra's turn before the attack can resolve. So Liam is playing very cool and collected here. He's very quickly gotten back in control of this game. Even though Pudding is running a more defensive plan into Prism with these D-Reacts, it does seem that while the blocking has done okay for Pudding so far, Pudding is struggling to have enough gas here to overcome this protection and hasn't drawn off Mask all game and really only threatened it once. So we're throwing out that Wartune for 6 power, and we're going to be trying to connect with that so that we can get our ponder token to keep the pressure going. However, if Pudding is able to keep this here, it could be pretty interesting. He could simply attack the protection and yes, make the halo happen, but you'd be perfectly happy to throw the 5 power attack if he has one at the protection. If he doesn't have that, then he absolutely has to throw 2 cards into it, because otherwise the halo can pull out Figment of Triumph, reduce the attacking card's power by 1, and so if you don't have that overkill by 1, it could just not kill the angel at all. So Pudding not looking to be in the best position here, especially having to block out that War-Tune Herald. So with 1 card left in hand, Pudding is going to have to reevaluate. More Heralds of Protection, we love that card, it's very good. Especially in this matchup, it is basically the best card you can see in this whole matchup. Backed up by 3 shields, that Aegis is going to be sitting very pretty. And even if he throws a head jab here, like a Ronin Renegade or whatever that is, it's not going to be threatening anything relevant into this protection. He can't get off the board guaranteed this turn. All Prism has to do is have a pulse, and she can keep that Aegis alive, no problem. So Pudding's best move here is certainly to simply Arsenal and try to survive against Heralds and Angels coming in force. If Prism does throw an average turn, he can threaten lethal on Pudding. So Pudding is not necessarily going to be able to throw a 5-card hand next turn, and Prism is looking to be in a dominant position from this point out. Pudding is going to need a miracle in order to survive here. Probably 2 7-power poppers or something. I mean, it's going to be a pretty big swing that's needed here to stop that. And we don't see anything like that. We see a bunch of head jabs, a bunch of ninja cards. And now all Prism has to do is throw some yellows down. Really can't go wrong here. Looks like a blue Herald of Protection is coming out. Getting that yellow into the pitch zone. It's worth noting here that in a world where the Syndra does have poppers, the best thing to do is to lead with the Aegis here, the Angel of Protection. Make 2 more shields, further entrench your lead, and then once you have the go again from the yellow and the pitch, you can just go to the, just go nuts from there. You could pitch for the War-Tune Herald, pitch in the blue card, and then throw your other Herald for sure. So there's really not a reason to lead with the Herald here, unless you absolutely want to go for that draw off the Herald of the Figment of Erudition, because ultimately because you can only get 3 attacks per turn as Prism, either 2 Angels and a Herald or 2 Heralds and an Angel, then you're really not going to want to attack with both Angels this turn. And even if you had the Figment of Ravages to get an extra Arcane and then 2 more Arcane representing 7 damage off the Angel, unless you're trying to threaten that, which could get you kind of close to threatening lethal, there's really no other benefit for doing that, but we're doing okay here. It's worth noting, by the way, that if Liam leaves up his Halo, he can respond to something that happens on Pudding's turn at instant speed and do the Arcane damage then. So even if he doesn't hit with a Herald this turn, he can still, if he gets them low enough, threaten they kill at instant speed. It has to be 1 Arcane, so it has to be really close, but ooh, 3 cards, block 5, not what you want to see. And here, again, the Angel is coming in second. There's really no reason to risk a popper here, because you get the same result here, but it does, I suppose, give you a higher damage ceiling if you go with the Herald first, so it's fine. Not going to criticize it, but Protection is definitely one of the better Angels here, and so being able to lead off with that and then end with this War-Tune, it's all blues, it looks like, so not the best turn of damage here. There was never really a chance of us to take all that damage or that value away from Pudding. I guess we couldn't really never have threatened lethal. But Pudding didn't know that, and so it's possible here that this is fine. This is fine. Although you could easily have led with the War Tune instead of the protection, and then use more resource, swung 2 Angels instead of swinging the Herald, and you could arsenal the Herald, especially if you didn't hit with the War Tune. But we do hit with the War Tune, we do get the Ponder token, so it's going to work out. It's very hard for Prism to lose at all in this position. There are a lot of many correct roads to win here. But a lot of playing Prism is minimizing your variance and is minimizing your downsides. And so it is important to notice what could potentially happen to ruin your day. It's worth noting that as a top 8, they probably know the composition of their opponent's deck lists. It's probably open. And so we probably know that Pudding may not have any poppers at all. So in that case, it's a moot point. So there's no need to worry about poppers that don't exist. Also worth noting that Prism has drawn very few non-blocking hands this game. That's been really fortuitous. Light of Soul and Figments can often ruin your day, and oftentimes I would even side out Figments into this matchup because I normally run a lot of Figments, and so siding a couple of them out does reduce that dead draw capacity, and normally the games don't last long enough to flip more than 3 or 4 Figments, so you definitely don't need to have all 8 in there for sure, and definitely maybe not even more than 4 or 5. With Ravages being in hand, you don't have as good of a time. Here, I don't know. Yeah, we knew that Pudding's turn was pretty face up there, so keeping the Angel around was pretty good. And, ooh, we get a yellow card on top, which is pretty cool. He's going to leave the... Gonna leave the Arclight on top. That's absolutely wild. I really don't agree with that. You had a free soul off of your Light of Soul, and you could have very easily done that. You're not really gonna need to cast the Arclight this game, so So drawing 2 here to guarantee you draw the Arclight is fine, but we weren't really ever gonna play it. We're trying to kill the Syndra here, so I think giving up the free soul was a little bit of a waste. We could have easily made 2 more Spectre Shields this turn, and obviously Pudding's kind of dead no matter what we do, but that wasn't really necessary. So yeah, we're in a good position. The Syndra can't really do anything. He's a sitting duck. He's gonna get run over next turn, but we would have had 1 more soul, and we would have been able to potentially use Arcane off of Ravages. So we just kind of gave up free soul. Flipping another Angel. Wow, we're just styling on this guy now. We're not even able to swing with them all. We can't even swing with them all. Draw 2. Okay, that's fine. We did get the soul off of it, though, which is fine. Of course. Dominate. It will clean it up here. Pudding will bravely try to defend here, but it is to no avail. We never give up, though. Never surrender, right? Block 5. Pudding knows what's coming. And then the other... Oh, not even going to show him the Herald of Erudition for the second Dominate. Are we BMing in top 8? We are BMing in top 8. That's insane. Liam, you are a monster. GG. All right, yeah. So uh, for those watching back at home, Prism quite good at this matchup if you can get those Heralds of Protection to line up, if you can get your Angels to give you maximum value and not get just cheated out by too many Flick Knives activations, especially if you get to go second. Going second as Prism increases your win rate by so much in this matchup. You really need to have that extra HP buffer to play with so you can stick your heels in the sand and fight back. So hopefully we'll get another matchup shortly, and otherwise, have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video.